Hello, everybody. I think some people coming in now. Just wait for a few more people to come in before we start. People could start by putting where they're coming in from in the chat box. That would be great. And if the weather's nice where you are as well. It's really nice here actually in the UK today, having a bit of a mini heat wave. Well, where I am anyway, in Bristol. Yeah, everybody put in the chat box where you're coming in from while we wait. Hi, Tashika from St. Vincent. Hi, Rochelle. Hi, everyone. Oh, we've got people from all around. This is great.
Wonderful.
Hi, Jacqueline. Hello, Mohan. Okay. So I'll start doing introductions then. Hi, everyone. My name's Erica from Macmillan Education, and I'm joined with Debbie Roberts here today. Debbie is a science expert, and she today is going to be talking us through the benefits of science inquiry and blended learning methods in line with the YES competition that we're running this September. So everyone will receive a certificate of attendance at the end of the session. You'll all get that as in an email. And if you have any questions throughout the webinar, then please just leave them in the chat box. Presentation slides to you all at the end. So without ado, I'm going to start the webinar. Thanks, Debbie.
Sorry, you're breaking up a bit there, Erica. I'm presuming that I'm taking over. Great. I hope you can all hear me. Great to see you all. Hi, Mohan. Long time no see. Hopefully see you soon. I'll be coming out to the Caribbean, I believe, in August. So I'm really, really, really looking forward to that. So for the people who know me, I'm an expert in inquiry-based teaching and learning. Every publication I've ever had, which is steadily approaching 300, which is alarming, is all based on inquiry-based learning. But I also wanted to go back to some research that I did during the lockdown in the UK. And that was about blended learning. So I started doing a lot of research about that. And as I was planning the YES competition, which I'll talk to you about as well, I thought, that actually is a very, very, very good use of blended learning and inquiry-based teaching and learning. So hello, everyone, and welcome. And if you have any questions at all, I will try to answer them in the chat box. So if I'm going like this, I'm not nodding off. I'm actually reading the chat box, which is to my right. So I will try to respond. But if I can't, if you carry on putting your questions in the chat box, we will respond to them afterwards. So, don't think I'm ignoring you. So we've got some objectives for today, and that mainly is to have a refresher if you're familiar with blended learning, or to be more confident to understand what actually blended learning is, because since COVID pandemic, there is a lot of things out there. There are a lot of information about blended learning that actually doesn't seem quite right to me. So I'll give you my point of view based on my research. It'll be good if we were confident in delivering and planning blended learning opportunities, because the research tells us that they are more engaging lessons. Students want to learn in this way, and so therefore they get more involved, more engrossed, they're more curious, they're more engaged, and we all know that that results in good learning and education. I'd also like you to appreciate the value of the competition, and I don't just mean that in monetary terms, because the prizes are really, really good and useful in education, but also the learning value. So we'll look at that also. So lots to be said. So good morning, everyone. Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, India. I was in India not so long ago, so that's lovely. Well done. Thank you for giving up your time to join me this morning. So let's get underway. So first of all, what is blended learning? If we were together now in a face-to-face discussion, I would love to hear your opinions, because when I deliver sessions, I do have a presentation and a PowerPoint because that's the expectation. But actually, I was a teacher for a long time, and so I really appreciate the value of your time. Anyone who is linked to education knows that time is very, very precious. And when I'm ever working with teachers, the one thing that they tell me that prevents them from doing and being the best that they can be is time. And so I appreciate the fact that you have given up your valuable time to be here today and share your expertise. So I want this time to be very useful for you. So if you have any questions, I am more than happy to sidetrack from this presentation, because you'll get copies of the slides and you'll get a certificate to say you've attended. So it's all about you. So feel free. So ultimately, blended learning combines the traditional face-to-face teaching, the classroom teaching, with a less formal method of that really promotes independent learning, almost guided independent learning with a digital curriculum. This is what blended learning is. So we can say that there is some reliance on computers, technology, and often the internet. Now, I know from my own experience this morning we've had internet issues here in the UK. I know that when I worked in a really modern primary school last week that had a 3-form intake. There was actually almost 1,000 primary children in this new building, and they had technology issues. When they all tried to log on to the internet, they couldn't. It was overwhelmed. So I know the issues, and that's why, for me, blended learning is a great solution, because it doesn't depend, it's not reliant on the internet. In an ideal world, we'd love to be able to use the internet whenever we can and to use computer technology. But in blended learning, if it doesn't work, it's fine. You've always got that face-to-face traditional backup. That's why I like it. So why should we use blended learning? Well, I did some research in how children learn. I compared, kindly tell the name of resource person. I'm not sure about that, but I'm sure someone will get back to you on that. If not before the end, at the end. So this is a Macmillan presentation. So anything from Macmillan will be, you'll get any information you need from there, I would think. So we're using blended learning because there are lots of strengths. My research showed to me, I was looking at how children learn to read, because worldwide we have a problem with reading. And so I was looking at the online resources, reading using digital formats compared to traditional paper hands-on books. And my findings were really quite interesting. to me as an educator. I thought I knew the answer, but I didn't. Students seemed to learn really quickly if they were using digital technology. So if they were using online electronic copies of books, they seemed to learn quicker. They wanted to learn. They were quite happy to hold a tablet in their hand and read a traditional book or a traditional textbook. But their learning skills didn't go deep enough. It was almost like they were skimming the information rather than really truly learning to read and learning skills that they then built on. So blended learning actually also accommodates that research in that they're using both methods. So we seem to get them engaged because we're using technology, but then backing it up with traditional teaching is really quite powerful. And so blended learning lends itself really well to that. We can produce inspiring, engaging, interesting lessons where students take more responsibility for their learning. In true blended learning lessons, students use and learn and develop inquiry-based learning skills, and we all know the benefits of inquiry-based teaching and learning skills. We've got all the things that we want children to adopt and to apply later in education, such as research skills, teamwork, being resilient, time management. All these skills that we really want to develop in our students are also developed through blended learning. They take responsibility for their own learning. Objectives are not only shared, which is common practice at the beginning of a lesson or of a chapter of learning, but they're often developed by the students. So they develop their own objectives, which means that the outcomes are improved significantly. They can work at their own pace. Think about during COVID. We had to adopt to everyone's pace, everyone's resources. And that is blended learning. Because time's more flexible, we don't have to finish it by 2:10. We can finish it when we've been to our sports club or whatever. It fits in with their lifestyle and yours. We've got a very varied learning environment, from the classroom to a laboratory to even the home, the kitchen table. And it's accessible and it's personalised learning for all students. There are 12 common types of blended learning, and here they are. And some of the titles are quite humorous, weird, odd, outside in, flex, self-directed, remote, flipped, mastery. But the one for me is project-based. Project-based learning is really, really powerful, and especially as the children get older, and it's much easier to differentiate. So the 12 most common types, but obviously you start researching now and there's even more. Every time I look, there are more and more and more. It could be argued there are absolutely thousands. But it's like when you're teaching forces. There are lots of different forces, and some of them sound really, really complicated, but actually they all come down to a push or a pull. Well, blended learning for me is the same. There are literally thousands of different kinds, but really there are just a few types, probably not even 12, and they vary according to the technology that's needed, the learning environment, the resources that are available, and the grand scale of it. And so this blends really nicely to the competition later on. It can involve coursework or project work. It can be in the classroom or from a distance, remote learning. It can mix or combine tasks that are carried out in the classroom and tasks that are carried out remotely, which could be at a lunch club or an after-school club or the kitchen table. It combines computer training, computer teaching and learning with traditional teaching methods. Here's an example of one. It's called station rotation blended learning, Really, it's just a carousel or a circus of activities, but in this case, using computer technology. So at each station, they have a different task, and the task is taken from one of the activity books, and they can go around the classroom, the laboratory, whatever you want to call it. I do apologise. For some reason, my cat is very interested in this, has not been in this room for days, but now she's decided she wants to be famous. So I do apologise. Okay, so the students visit each station and carry out a learning experience at each one. This is modern, it's moving, they're on their feet, they're working in different teams or pairs, collecting evidence and information at their own pace, obviously within a given time frame. But if they want to spend 5 minutes or 3 minutes or 10 minutes at each station, they can do, as long as they can work together and accommodate the others in the classroom. Lab rotation, student works through different technology, different computer information. They could just sit actually at one and go through a varied task list. So they could have something online where they dip in and out of it, sat at one computer, or you could set up computers at different stations as before, but this time it's all online. There aren't any tasks that are from a book or anything. So as an example, this is from one of the Macmillan Caribbean books. They complete an online coursework. They might have intermittent meetings with the teacher, such as if they're working on a project or a competition. It may well be set in the classroom by the teacher, explained by the teacher. Students might group together, allocate different tasks for a common goal. They then could work remotely on their task, come back together in the classroom, discuss what their findings and share ideas, and then come up with a new task list, take that away. They could work together, but remotely, in an after-school club or at home, depending obviously on resources that are available. But you can work that out. So for example, all of the technology, all of the internet could be used in school. But then the other tasks, using books, questionnaires, taking photographs, then they could be carried out in the home. I'm just sorry, I'm being distracted. It seems that some people are having some problems with the sound. I do apologise for that. Everything seems clear here, and I was on earlier and everything was clear, so I hope that everything's okay and you can hear me. But don't forget, you will get copies of the slides as well and a recording. Flex blended learning is monitored by the teacher. So the teacher will give out the task. There might be some research tasks carried out in school, and then we come back and we debrief, we discuss that what's been done, we design more, we give feedback. It's back and forth, back and forth. By giving deadlines, meeting deadlines, debrief deadlines, you can keep to schedule quite well. But here's a really good opportunity for Flex Blended. In one of the projects, well, there are actually 3 pages in the book, and that's a project-based one, specifically for the Caribbean, very similar to the competition. The flipped classroom, I love this heading, flipped classroom. Where did they get them from? I do not know. So students research remotely this time, and they study and practice in detail in school. So they might research, you could give them an opportunity, right? Here's an activity. We want to make something out of garbage that we've found in the local area. Obviously, we wouldn't really want students to go out collecting garbage because I'd dread to think what they would come back with, but they're given what could be garbage, but it's clean and it's safe. They might research different things that they could actually use this for. What have other people done? What ideas are there? And then develop an idea, develop or design something and come back into the classroom. So it's research at home this time, study at school, complete the task with their group, their peers, their team, or individually. Individual rotation blended learning. Okay, this kind of says what it is in the title. Students actually work through different tasks, but they're set different time scales, different schedules. This is great differentiation. They then share their findings with their team. So they're put into teams, off they go again to do some research and plan ahead. And then at certain times they come back and share. Can you see that lots of these are very, very similar? But what I've done that you can look at in more detail when you get the slides later on is that I have actually linked the kind of blended learning technique to a specific task from the Caribbean Macmillan resources. So you'll be able to look in a bit more detail. So you might be there thinking now, well, they're all the same. But if you actually go and look at the tasks that are available, they're nearly all project tasks. You can see that, right, that one needs to be researched first. I need to give them some clues about that. You know, in inquiry-based teaching and learning, let's not forget, we don't just throw them in at the deep end. We don't just give them tasks and tell them, off you go and do it. That would just cause chaos. We need to train them, develop their skills before they can become true independent learners. Let's not forget that. So we need to differentiate very carefully and train our students. Otherwise, they would never complete the task, really. So you discuss as much as you need to, you give as much instruction as you have to, and then you allow students to work independently, but come back and debrief. Now, here we are, project-based blended learning. Students work on and offline. They're given a project. This is your challenge. This is your task. This is what we're looking for. This is how we'll mark it. They then go away and work in a team. They can choose their own team if they want to, but we always remind them that they choose a team that they can work with. Not a team that they can chat with or have, totally go off the project with, discussing other things. It has to be someone they can work with. Again, the competition is a great opportunity for this. I love using competitions. I've always used competitions in my classrooms. I've taught some really difficult 16-year-old boys who really don't want to study science. Make it into a competition, especially if it's something for themselves, and all of a sudden they become very engaged and very interested. So boost up the prize for the student, and you focus on the learning that will develop. Good morning, St. Martin. I will be seeing you very soon. I'm coming out to St. Martin in August. Really looking forward to that. Okay, self-directed blended learning. This is for your students who are very independent, very skilled learners. They can work on or offline, and they are almost totally left to answer questions of their own. So they come up with their own ideas, their own interests, and they want to find the answer to something specific. They may need some support in how to find the answer, but not given the answer. So it might be just saying something like, I suggest you don't use Wikipedia for that because it's not always reliable information. Maybe you could look on this website and there's a great book in the library. That kind of information. So it's more like guiding rather than giving the answers. Welcome, we've got lots of people attending now, which is really encouraging, from lots of different places in the Caribbean. I'm really pleased about that. And I'm really pleased that most people seem to be able to hear me, which is a relief. Inside out blended learning. Wow. Students complete part of the task remotely. As you can see there, the students are happily working and mum and dad look busy too, or responsible adults seem to be getting on with their tasks too. So this is working completely remotely but independently. Outside in blended learning, these activities begin outside of the classroom. So it's a little bit like the mastery one, but they might not come up with the idea. In outside blended learning, you might give them an idea or a task. They go and work remotely, whether that be still in school but independently, or it might well be that they are working at home. So here's a home learning task from the Macmillan Education Caribbean Resources. It's a home learning task, as I said, and it's how can you recycle waste materials to make a useful item? That might ring a bell later in this presentation. Design the item that you would like to make. Think about what materials you will need. Then construct, build it. Bring the completed item back into school, and the task might be extended further to explain what the materials are, the properties of the materials, why did they choose them, did they have a prototype, did they make any changes, why did they make the changes, did it make it better, more cost effective, more efficient, easier to build? Would they be able to market it? Can someone else repeat their design? So it can be extended according to the ability of the students, according to your objective and the time frame that you have available to give to it. If you haven't got enough time, remote learning. Supplemental blended learning. Students learn in the classroom and then they supplement what they have learned with their own research or resources from elsewhere. So you've delivered the lesson and students might still be left with questions, but in the style of inquiry-based teaching and learning, we just don't give them the answer. We allow them to go away and find out for themselves. And again, depending on differentiation, you might need to give them a whole list of resources that they can use to research further, or they might know, they might have an idea already of their own, which is powerful. We could ask them, research where does garbage come from? In your country, where you are, where does it come from? Compare it with someone else, someone from the UK, where does their garbage come from? We all have garbage, but it often doesn't come. We haven't created our own garbage, particularly my experience in the Caribbean. How can we protect the environment? What are the dangers of this garbage? And what can we do to protect the environment that we love and adore and we work in? Mastery blended learning. This is where students learn and are confident in dipping out of different learning types. It depends on the completion of the tasks. When does the objective, when do you expect them to complete everything? But they can use their own knowledge, be confident in using different learning styles in blended learning. And again, this is an inquiry-based teaching and learning skill. Plan a sustainable method for a new city. What do we mean by sustainable? Why do we need a new city? Explain how this will work. I do apologise, there's a typo there. It says how this will work, how this will work. We've all checked it and there we've just skimmed over that. They need to evidence the findings, not just I think this, but I think this because. This is the evidence I've found. This is the secondary data that I have. This is my primary data that I've collected. Interesting. I just happened to be on a residential training course at Warwick University in the UK. And off I went to make my free coffee from a very, very beautiful coffee making machine, which delivered everything from an espresso right up to a flavoured latte. It was very posh. And I pressed the digital screen feeling very clever, and up popped sustainable message for me about water. Then another one popped up about how the cups had been transported to the venue. Then another one popped up about how the cups were actually made and disposed of. And I thought, wow, here am I in the UK at university studying for something completely different to environmental science, whilst planning the judging criteria for the Yes competition, and it was all about sustainable living, sustainable environment, a sustainable city. Wow, how interesting I found that. So the Yes competition is coming soon. I hope you have all heard of the Yes competition. Please let me know if you have in the chat box. It would be very interesting to know about your awareness of it. It's very early. It's very early. We're hoping, well, we're launching on the 23rd of September is when we will be accepting the entries for the competition, and the judging will take part somewhere around the end of November. You will be receiving emails introducing you to the competition and telling you all about it. We've worked really hard on the competition this year. We worked hard on the competition last year, but it really was the launch. So we had a lot to do. And we did launch it. It was successful. We got lots of interesting applications. I thoroughly enjoyed reading the entries. It was very interesting, very difficult to judge. So this year we're launching it in a much bigger way, and the prizes match the size of the event. So when I'm out in the Caribbean in August, towards the end of August, towards the end, we will actually be launching the competition. We will be doing an event to promote, a promotional event to promote the competition. You will be receiving emails which explain everything about the competition, including the prizes, including how to enter, and also the resources that are available to support you. And I will talk about that in the next few slides, but also linking it back to the learning strategies in blended learning and inquiry-based teaching and learning. And you'll see that the competition is a great opportunity to win some useful products. But as I said before, it's really an amazing learning opportunity. I hope you'll agree. We've worked really hard on this so far. So there are two categories again. We have a primary category and a secondary category. And the objectives and the tasks are appropriate to the learning that will have taken place in primary and secondary. So if your school has primary and secondary students, there's nothing stopping you entering. And I believe we've also agreed that you can have multiple entries in your school. If you've got different groups of students that want to be involved, there isn't one entry per school. You can enter as many times as you like. So this is the primary category. This is a very familiar, sadly, a very familiar image from the Caribbean. And this picture is taken in the Caribbean, but we see this picture. I work worldwide, and I see beaches and landscapes and environments pretty similar to this. And it's very worrying because the polyethylene or polyvinyl chloride or plastic, polythene, PVC, stays in the environment for literally hundreds of years. A cigarette end can withstand 30 plus years. It's very worrying that the garbage that I've produced, I'd like to think I haven't, because I'm very good at recycling things, but my generation, the things that they've left in the environment will affect my grandchildren, which is not very responsible, and it's a bit alarming, really. It's going to be really difficult to come up with ways of disposing of this garbage. If we try to burn it, it releases poisonous toxins. If we bury it, it doesn't decompose. There isn't much we can do with it, really. Chemical reactions release toxic waste. So we tend to just dump it at the moment. There's not much else we can do. So this competition is in an attempt to think about what we can actually do with some of the garbage. Can we recycle it? Can we reuse it? I've worked on something similar to this with primary school children over the last couple of years, and they've come up with some amazing things. Absolutely phenomenal. And when I've looked at them and I've listened to them, the science that comes into it is unreal. For example, I had some 6-year-olds the other week who wanted to make a bookcase out of cardboard. They'd had a delivery of some large furniture, and there was all this corrugated cardboard in the they'd actually got a skip, a big waste disposal vessel that would end up in landfill. And they came up with this amazing idea that they could strengthen the corrugated cardboard. So they needed a lot of support with this, but ultimately what they did, if you remember the ripples in between the two pieces of card, they placed them across each other as so the ripples were going in opposite directions, and they glued them with ordinary classroom glue. Nothing special, just what they had in the classroom. They tested it and realised that they needed more. So they used 4 layers of corrugated cardboard with the ripples going different ways. And yes, they made a bookcase. I don't think it would hold my 300 books, but it certainly held a classroom set of my books, and they were very proud of it. And yeah, what an amazing use of cardboard, which eventually would have decomposed at landfill, but it's not very attractive, and it's a much better use. So the task is to use clean garbage. Let me be clear on that. We don't want to be going out and collecting garbage. Ideally, we'd like to go and see the different types of garbage, or look on news reports or video clips on the internet, or you could film something and show that to the group of children who want to be involved. We don't want them picking through garbage for the simple reason that we just don't know what will be there. And, it probably isn't coming from your country, as I said, so we don't really want to be handling it. Not even with litter grabbers, not even with gloves. We don't know what sharp things could be in there, broken things, things that have got bacteria growing. So ideally, collect some clean garbage. So collect some garbage and clean it, and provide that to the students to make something useful. Ideally, they'll be working in groups. They might want to work in pairs, but as in blended learning, they might be at mastery level and want to work independently, and that's absolutely fine. Last year, when we did this competition, we had students who did in fact enter as independent entrants, and some of them did really, really well. So it can be a whole class event, a whole school event, or a whole single student event, whatever they want to do, whatever you think is appropriate. So we're using clean garbage to design something useful that can be made from used materials. We'd like them to design it and give evidence of the design, tell us what equipment they need, the resources they used. If we think about it, their design should be clear enough that someone else could pick it up and repeat it, like a scientific investigation. We know that we write scientific method, not because it's boring, as students tell me, but so it can be shared by other people. and they can carry out the same method. So we want something along that line. This could be video evidence, photographic evidence. It could be a presentation like this, where they are giving, slides showing pictures or drawings, whatever is appropriate and according to the resources that are available. They then build a prototype of the item. They might build it and realise that it just does not work. And if that's the case, they can go back to the drawing board. But what I'd like to see, I'd like to see that it just didn't work and what they came up with next. How they tested it to see if it would work. How did they know it wouldn't work? This is what we'd really love to see. Then the reviewed design, how they modified it. And then finally, when they're happy with their design of the item, it would be great to see how it could be used and provide evidence of it being used. And you know what? If it doesn't work in science, that's fine. Show us that it didn't work, why it didn't work, and what the intended purpose of it was, and then any ideas to improve it. At secondary level, we would expect it to be a little bit more tasking. They've done lots of science, they've learned some great lessons and skills, so we really want to see them in action. We want the groups, teams, pairs to be part of a development team. They imagine, it's a scenario, they imagine that they've been given some funding to build a small town or city on your island. Now, it would be very naive of us to say, but we don't need a small city or a town. But the population is increasing daily. There are very few places that don't actually need more living space, more shelter, more homes. And so it's not beyond our imagination that one day a small town or community could be built where you live. Imagine if a town was being built close by to you. The local residents would probably not be very pleased. They would think about the indigenous wildlife. I've been in the Caribbean. The beauty, the wildlife astounds me. I think it was Grenada where I was watching the really big crabs just appearing on this beautiful garden, this grass. I was amazed. I love scuba diving, not just in the Caribbean, in the UK too. And, the species, the turtles, the wildlife, it amazes me. It's a beautiful place. And if I lived there, I would want to protect it. I would want to protect the mangrove swamps because of the animals and the living species that call it their home. So we have to, the residents would be concerned. They would have concerns. They might have concerns about pollution, not just in exhaust fumes and, combustion reactions, but also where would all the waste go? Where would the traffic go during construction and after? Towns and small communities produce more traffic. What would happen? How could it get in and out? What effect would it have on local residents? Could it be sustainable? There'll be more people living there, so they'll need more things. They'll need more electricity, more fresh water, more plastic packaging, more noise. They will produce more pollution. How will they manage the increase in vehicles in the surrounding roads? So it's not just about designing nice houses and using solar energy to heat the water rather than using fossil fuels. It's not just about that, but it's also thinking about the impact that town will have, the people, the traffic, the pollution. How will they manage it? This competition only takes a couple of months. They can't address everything, but it would be nice if they addressed one of those questions or one of those issues that the local residents might bring to the table, or something that they've thought about would be equally, if not more, interesting. So they are going to design a sustainable town or community. They will need to address some of the questions, some of the problems that have been raised by the local community in that scenario, or ones of their own. It is only a scenario, it's just an idea. Thank you for those that are saying great project ideas, really appreciate that. I spent a lot of time doing this, really enjoyed it, far too much for my own good, to be fair. So I'm really pleased that you can appreciate that they are interesting projects. The team can select more ideas to support the sustainability or just one, it's up to them. The idea is that they design some kind of a presentation. So it could be a poster, it could be a presentation as in PowerPoint slides or PDFs, anything like that. We want to see them testing one of their ideas. So for example, I was working with some students and they wanted to test. They were building a new school. So they were in the school, the old school, and the new school was being built actually on the playing field. So it was very close to the school. They were really interested in the pollution that had been produced, and they wanted to test it in various different places. We couldn't afford to go out and buy various air pollution testing kits because they're very expensive. So they came up with their own idea of putting various different ideas, but ultimately it came down to filter papers. Some of them put, petroleum jelly on. Some of them put glue on. Some of them covered in sellotape. And they hung them back with a string in various different places. And amazingly, they did collect pollutants. They did collect rather a lot of carbon. The sellotape one was almost black. And they could conclude that the closer to the building site, there was more pollution. Could be argued that a lot of dust had been produced. It's not normally very dry where I live, so the chances of it being purely dust was not very liable. It was probably more pollutants from all the machinery, the extra cars, all the workmen coming to work, all the combustion reactions. They were literally burning the pallets and the packaging on site. So they came up with the idea and they tested it and they made conclusions from it. It's that simple. Or it could be that complex, depending on your students and your resources. But we want to see some kind of a scientific report, a write-up, so that someone could repeat their investigations that they've carried out to test their sustainable ideas. So they're coming up with something to address the problems that the local community have come up with in the scenario. They're developing this sustainability idea, whether it's reducing pollution, reducing noise pollution, a method of getting the traffic in and out without it impacting on the habitats of indigenous species or living things or plants. And then we want to see that scientific report, what we were testing, how we tested it, the equipment we needed, the results we found, how we analyse the results, and a conclusion. We must be testing an hypothesis at secondary level, and we must be recording observations, whether that be photographic observations, measurable observations. That's up to you, but we want to see evidence of that. So, the point of the competition. The point of the competition is not just winning. I've said this throughout and I've linked it to the EBTL skills. I've linked it to the blended learning skills. It's not just about the competition. It's about the camaraderie, the working as a team, the working independently, time management. If they come up with something amazing, but it's the day after judging, it's too late. So it's time management. The children who made the bookcase with the cardboard, it took them days to figure out that if they put more and more and more, they would get a stronger material. They tested the materials. They suspended it between two chairs and put bricks on it. These were things that were around them. They didn't have to go out and buy anything. And as young as they were, 5 years old, they'd hypothesised that they could make a structure using corrugated cardboard. They tested it, they couldn't. So they developed it further. So therefore, I'm so pleased that you'd love to take part in it. Thank you so much. And Nikki from St. Lucia, welcome everyone. It's so heartwarming to see that people are interested in the competition and are making that link between the skills and the learning experiences. This is not just about the young environmental scientist of the year winner. This is about the involvement, the skills, the working together, the communication, writing scientific methodology, practicing scientific methodology, repeating things, getting reliable results, analysing the reliable results, concluding. At secondary, we'd expect a conclusion to an hypothesis, so it must be linked to the hypotheses. In primary, we'd like to think that the prototype changes are linked directly to their ideas and the results or the observations that they've made about their item that they've made. What types of blended learning? I hope you agree. I mean, let me know in the chat box. But we went through half of the 12 learning styles. You'll be able to see how they can be used in different scenarios, even though they might sound very similar. I would imagine that all of the blended learning types that we've talked about in this presentation can be used in the competition, both in primary and secondary. Let me look. Oh, it looks like a great project for my students. Trinidad into it. Oh, that's brilliant from Trinidad. Love Trinidad, been there lots. Yeah, so I hope you can see that inquiry-based teaching and learning skills, lots of them can be developed in this competition. Types of blended learning can be used, all of them. So it's not just about winning, is it? It's not just about winning at all, though the prizes are quite good. And I would love to come back and meet the winners. I would love to come to the school and see the projects and see everyone's projects. If I can't be there, I hope that I can see some of them in their finery. I am one of the judges, so and I have written the judging criteria with the support from judges in the Caribbean. So it would be great to see your ideas in action, to see your competition entries. I'm really excited about it. And the best thing is seeing your comments and knowing that you're really excited about it is amazing. Remember, time is always the problem in teaching. Well, let me tell you, we have developed loads of resources for you to support you with the competition and with everything else. So we've developed some examples of competition entries. We've developed some resources taken from the books and taken from the online resources to support you with your competition entry. Last year, we offered some mentoring, and I'd like to think that we'll do that again this year. It would be great if you did have a problem in your school. Don't just think, I haven't got time to figure this out, we're not doing it. Just ask us, and we want you to get involved. We've done everything we can to support you in getting involved in the competition and to support you in teaching and learning using these methods, which are tried and tested. They're not just my ideas, they're based on research. Okay, so Hello, Mr. Clark from Kingston. How are you? So it's great this. I can see people that I actually know, not just you, Mohan, other people too, which is wonderful. I've really enjoyed this morning. I hope it's been useful to you. Don't forget, you will get an email with the slides. You will get a certificate, and also we will be sending you, well, Macmillan will, the royal we, Macmillan will be sending you information via email about the competition. So if you've got any further questions, if you want to put them in the chat box, we will answer anything we can now, or we will definitely get back to you later and answer any queries that you've got at all. When you get the competition entries, please consider it. You will be supported. I promise it will not take up your time, but it will be very valuable for your students. So back to Macmillan. That went so quick. I really enjoyed that. So look, just carry on chatting away in the chat box, but I'll pass you back to Macmillan. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Debbie. And thank you everyone for attending today. Like Debbie said, you'll get some more information about the competition via email and on our social channels. The competition launches on the 23rd of September and it closes on the 29th of November. So you've got around 2 months to get your ideas together and put something amazing together. You'll get sent a pack with task details, some supplementary information and anything else you need to know. Like I said, that will be on email and socials, so keep an eye out. And also the certificate and the slides will be sent out to you after this webinar, as well as the recording, so you can catch up if you need. And if you joined late, you can start from the beginning. And also another thing is we're going to be sending out an email with a survey on webinar timings, where you can choose which time is best for you for a webinar in general. So if you see that email, it would be really great if you could fill that out for us. It'd be really helpful. Yeah, so that's it, I think. Thank you so much again, Debbie, and thank you everyone for attending, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.